It's finally happening, folks, as we have some major Raptors updates that has Raptors fans excited as we're finally going to see this core group of players, the guys that we're building this team around, play out there on the court together. So we'll discuss that, including a crazy opportunity that's opening up right now for the Toronto Raptors as the Suns, the Heat, there are a ton of reports about what they're trying to do to facilitate a Jimmy Butler trade, and the Toronto Raptors seem to be the only team in the NBA that can really help facilitate this move for actually happening, and this is something that's going to happen soon. So we're going to break down all of the latest on this current trade scenario and how the Raptors could get involved as this team is currently rebuilding, and it doesn't make sense to, basketball on court wise to have Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler in there on the court space, but some incentives and some cap structure really position the Raptors well to get involved in one of these blockbuster trades. So we're going to discuss all of that in the studio, but before we do, folks, guys, if you guys are a part of the over 67% of our viewers that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, and you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with this Toronto Raptors team, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as trade season's just around the corner. We're getting some Raptors back. And, things should be getting exciting again for the Toronto Raptors the coming weeks. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. But let's dive into the news. And the first thing we're taking a look at is it's finally happening, folks. We have a pretty exciting Toronto Raptors update here right now with RJ Barrett returning to the lineup. But again, we've seen players in and out of the lineup. The injury updates are kind of nullified to a lot of Toronto Raptors fans. So it's like, oh, they're just going to get hurt again. They're just going to be out. But this one is especially interesting, especially intriguing, especially exciting for this team because finally, for however long it lasts, we are going to get the BBQ, the main core of this team. RJ Barrett, Scottie Barnes, and Immanuel Quickley actually playing on the court together. So essentially, Barrett, who's been out with the flu as of late, is questionable for tonight's game against the Milwaukee Bucks, but the expectation is that he'll play. Assuming everything goes to plan, the Raptors will have their full starting five available for the first time this season. The IQ, RJ Barrett, and Scottie Barnes trio hasn't shared the court since March 1st of last year. And obviously, it's exciting just to see RJ Barrett come back. He's been phenomenal this season, averaging 23 points per game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. I think a lot of people would say he's been the best Toronto Raptor, most consistent Toronto Raptor, especially where he's played more games than Scottie Barnes, but has been out the last few games with the flu. And again, when you're returning from sickness, he might be trash tonight. I wouldn't be surprised. That's usually what happens when players return from, illness and things like that. But frankly, I am pumped. I am excited to just finally get to see this core group come out there on the basketball court. I know we had an ugly loss against the Magic in a recent outing. It's like, we got a pretty tough schedule coming up as well. Like the teams that we're facing up against in the coming weeks, it's not light. It's not easy. It's not a easy schedule. The Bucks, the New York Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Pistons, I believe, have won 6 of the last 7. I mean, the Golden State, they're getting desperate now at this point. The Boston Celtics, the Bucks again, the Magic again, the Hawks have been pretty good. I mean, this schedule upcoming is very, very intense, very, very tough for the Toronto Raptors, but having the core guys, having BBQ back, having these 3 players end up coming up, whether it's a win-loss or whatever the heck has happened on the win-loss column, I mean, just having these players actually get to suit up on the court and not play some really just bad teams, some actually exciting basketball games. I am going to be very, very intrigued to see how this team performs. Now, again, with RJ Barrett return to the flu, I don't imagine he'll be phenomenal just coming back from that. I mean, anyone that's done anything recovering from the flu, I mean, it takes you a few days to get back in the swing of things, but I don't know. I'm just excited to see how this core group plays together because this is what this season's about. It's for Masai Ujiri to figure out the types of players that we have on this roster, where we need to fill holes in, and then how we're going to build for the future. And without having a decent enough sample size of the big 3, the core guys out there along with Gradey Dick, along with Jakob Poeltl, there's not going to be a good feel for what the Raptors should do here now at this point, heading into the trade deadline, heading into free agency, if we don't know how they're all going to play together. So having some more games with these, guys all seeing how they complement each other, how this core group is going to look, has me very, very excited and is intriguing as a Raptors fan. So definitely keep tuned to how the Raptors are playing. We'll see how this group is looking at. But of course, when you're making big decisions, you want to have a good sample size. But there's a pretty crazy, insane opportunity right now for the Toronto Raptors, which definitely has had Toronto Raptors fans. I seen it, very split, very confused about about what the heck is going on. So we're going to break it all down, the current situation that's happening right now where the Toronto Raptors, Masai Ujiri, could get involved in some absolute insane blockbuster trades out there across the NBA. Because if you're not familiar, if you haven't been on NBA Twitter, Reddit, different places, Jimmy Butler has essentially, he's been doing a lot of things. He's been suspended 7 games for conduct detrimental to the team. He's publicly essentially requested a trade. He's going through Shams. He wants out. He wants out of Miami, and it seems like a trade is going to be happening very, very soon. And this is where, things get intriguing. So the Heat have been known to be seeking a trade that requires them to take back the smallest amount of guaranteed money beyond this season. So Jimmy Butler traded away from the Miami Heat. The Heat are interested in bringing back essentially not real salary. They want to get rid of Jimmy Butler and not have to be tied down to big long-term money. But the thing about it is the market isn't really shaping up to be a lot of options for the Miami Heat to make this happen. So essentially there's a huge thing going around the NBA that the argument it's better to get something than nothing no longer applies in today's NBA. The Miami Heat don't want to be stuck with money they can't move on in its books in a Jimmy Butler trade. The flexibility the LA Clippers created letting Paul George walk this summer makes a viable path for the Miami Heat, presuming no one meets their asking price for Butler's services. So the Miami Heat, they want to make a trade. They want to get Jimmy Butler out of there. We've seen Pat Riley kind of come out and have a public beef with Jimmy Butler, and we've seen this in the past. The guy like Dwayne Dedmon, they suspended him, and then he never played another game for the Miami Heat. I don't imagine the Heat want Jimmy Butler back after some of the press conferences he's had, and I imagine all the behind-the-scenes stuff. I mean, Jimmy Butler, I like him as a basketball player, all those types of things, but he's been known to sabotage his way out of situations. You look back to Minnesota, again, did end up going back. It wasn't sabotage, but left Philadelphia, all these types of things. He doesn't want to play in places where he's not respected and stuff, so things are getting messy here, and the Heat don't want to bring back big salaries. So the Heat want to make a trade. They don't want to bring back long-term money. So what's going on? What's happening here with this squad? Well, this is where the Toronto Raptors come in, because the team that's really interested in making a deal with the Miami Heat are the Phoenix Suns. This is according to Brian Windhorst of ESPN, and they're the most aggressive in trade talks for Jimmy Butler. But as we've seen from recent screenshots I brought up, the Heat don't appear to have any interest in Bradley Beal, as he's on a long-term salary, yada, yada, yada. But the Butler landing in Phoenix will require Beal waiving his no-trade clause elsewhere in a complicated multi-team deal. Now, again, complicated multi-team deals, they are very, very hard to get through, but where there's a will, there's a way. It seems like the Phoenix Suns who are in a desperate spot. That team is bad. They're benching Bradley Beal, Yusuf Nurkic out there in upcoming games. They are not happy with what's going on with Bradley Beal here now at this point. So the Suns are losing a ton of games, and they want Jimmy Butler badly on that squad. Kevin Durant tried to join up with Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat. They want that sort of relationship there. They're benching Bradley Beal. They're benching Yusuf Nurkic. They want one of these deals to happen. The Heat, of course, want one of these deals to happen. Even though multi-team deals are hard to put together, they're hard to piece, when there's a will, there's a way, as I've been saying. And the Toronto Raptors really are the only team in the NBA that seems to be able to provide a package that makes sense to go back to the Miami Heat and sit Jimmy Butler, go to the Phoenix Suns, and make something go down. Whether the Raptors end up acquiring Bradley Beal or not in one of these packages, but looking at the Raptors kind of cap situation right now, we have a guy in Bruce Brown who's making $23 million. He's off the books right this summer. We have a guy in Chris Boucher making $10 million off the books right this summer. And two guys that can be competitive for the Miami Heat or whatever team they go to right away. You have Kelly Olynyk, who is on a 2-year deal, is looking a little bit less polished right now, especially with his injury situation and stuff like that, but still on a relatively cheap deal. And then you also have a guy in Davion Mitchell, where he could be off the books this upcoming season at only $6.4 million. So even if it's unguaranteed money, if you package Bruce Brown, you package Chris Boucher, you package Davion Mitchell, you can essentially make a deal that matches salary. And if a team is interested in Kelly Olynyk, I mean, even though there is an extra year on that, I don't imagine that's you're getting any better than that from any other team in the NBA. So the Raptors have 4 expiring contracts that could make a deal facilitate, to make a deal happen. The Raptors could take on some money, given the fact this team is not great right now. Like, we're 4th at the bottom. We're not worried about winning games. We're not worried about the immediate sort of future here now at this point for this squad. So why would the Raptors do this? Why would they give up sort of these trade packages? Well, if the Phoenix Suns, if the Miami Heat are as desperate as they're saying, as the reports indicate, they're talking to teams, they're on the phones trying to get something to happen. the Raptors could get some really, really intriguing draft capital, some intriguing young players to facilitate this trade, to be compensated for essentially taking on a bad contract or taking on some interesting salaries, whether it's Bradley Beal or fourth teams involved. I'm not worried about the specific player package and stuff like that, but if the Raptors can net a couple first-round picks, if they can get a haul of second-round picks, if they can get a Ryan Dunn or Oria, whatever one of those young prospects from the Heat, from the Phoenix Suns, then you are in business. You are intrigued by one of these deals, one of these packages, and we know the Phoenix Suns owner Matt Ishbia is always trying to facilitate, always trying to make moves. And you know, if you got to eat up a Bradley Beal contract for a couple of extra years, pay some extra salary, again, that might affect the development of some of the young guys, but you could also be rehabilitating Bradley Beal's trade value and make something happen there, then you get intriguing. And well, Bradley Beal's a no trade clause, and I'm sure those comments have already been made since I'm 10 minutes in the video. But Bradley Beal's getting benched right now by the Phoenix Suns. He's getting put to the bench. That's a report that just came out from Chris Hayes. I think he's going to want out of the Phoenix Suns if they start treating him like that. So it's an intriguing spot. Again, it's a short term, doesn't make a ton of sense for the Raptors, but long term, and this is where Masai Ujiri's vision is here now at this point, right? Long term for the Toronto Raptors, if you can net a couple firsts just for getting involved in this trade, if you can net a very interesting young prospect on top of it, then, I mean, the Raptors have a really golden opportunity. We know Masai Ujiri could slide into these different deals. Like, look at back similar trades in the past. The Dwight Howard trade, the LA Lakers, and then, you know, the Nuggets, the Magic. They got some very intriguing pieces out there, a side piece in one of these big blockbuster deals. So keep an eye on the Toronto Raptors because really they're the only players that are out there in the open market right now that can facilitate one of these deals. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys best thing as far as subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.